So Ember right now is in such a good spot. Her Jade Shadow's changes have cranked her destructive potential up and made her abilities much easier to manage thanks to a better energy economy. Now there is still some balance between energy and her abilities, but nowhere near as rough as it was in the past. And on top of this, she can now gain Overguard. She can strip armor, she can gain Overguard, she can stagger enemies, she has 90% damage reduction on top of a heal, and she spreads one of the best scaling status effects in the game right now, Heat. But not just that, with the Jade Shadows update, enemy health and armor values were changed significantly, meaning that Heat as a status effect is also in a much better place. Look, Heat was always good, but with enemy armor now capped at 2700 at higher levels, it means that Heat's partial strip of up to 50% is more effective, and enemies won't have as much damage mitigation as they did prior to this update. Don't get me wrong, it's not as effective as a full armor strip, but it is still damn good. Add in the stagger heat, gives enemies already when you catch them on fire, as well as damage over time, and heat right now is honestly one of the best single status effects in the game. It kind of was in the past, it's just amplified. And if you can get a weapon that spreads blast into those groups like my compressor does, then it is honestly a seriously good time. So this means that Ember right now is more of a fiery goddess. Now, my build has no arcane energize, which at times before this update it felt like she kind of needed, unless you went with an average power strength, efficiency and duration on top of other forms of energy regen, and even then it was still a fine line of balancing between our 90% damage reduction and casting Fire Blast to regulate that heat meter. It was manageable, but it felt a bit more restricted than it does right now. It feels like, I guess, the chains have kind of been taken off due to the crazy energy drain that her Immolate had previous to this. But now with her energy tweaks, she's easier managed. If you can add in her exothermic augment mod, maybe equilibrium to bounce off synth deconstruct on your sentinel, she becomes this kind of walking candy dispensary, orbs everywhere that allow you to top off your health, top off your energy non-stop, allowing a constant upkeep of her damage reduction if you wanted it, and allowing her heat meter's energy drain, which is still uncapped by the way, it just ramps up much slower than it did before. I think Pablo said on a previous dev stream that it's about 60% slower of a ramp up, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was before. So there is still some balance between Fire Blast and her heat meter, which is fine. You're going to be casting Fire Blast a lot anyway in order to strip enemy armor. You're just not going to be casting it as much if you don't need to. And this gives you more freedom or wiggle room to not instantly drain all of your energy when your heat level maxes out. But what exactly has changed with Ember? Now, her Fireball no longer has a charge mechanic to get the most out of it or the most damage. A single cast will now give you that 500% damage that the old charge would have given you. Its radius has been increased on impact, and it now guarantees a heat status effect on enemies that it hits, or the AoE hits. Now, her Immolation, which is a second ability, now also has a reduced energy cost at maximum heat from 10 down to 4. The drain at maximum heat is still on the high side, but much easier to manage. It means that you're not having to keep casting Fire Blast, like I said already, to keep that balance going. Her Fire Blast, which is her third ability, the energy cost now depends on your heat level, and the heat damage from it now impacts bosses or VIP enemies like Vor, Acolytes, Demolishers, and so on. It's got better hit detection, meaning verticality, hitting enemies on different floors to you. They will get hit by that Fire Blast. And the Healing Flame augment for this ability now also converts overheals that you get from it into Overguard for your Ember, which is freaking awesome. So not only can she heal right back up to full health in one cast, but she can gain extra defenses on top of stripping enemy armor at the same time with this ability, while also staggering them and setting them on fire. So it's a really good ability right now. However, the Subsume ability won't carry the Overguard over, so if you put Fire Blast onto other Warframes, you won't get Overguard by using the Healing Flame augment, which is a shame. I have this on some of my other Warframes, but maybe it would have been a bit broken. Ember's fourth ability, Inferno, where she rains fiery meteorites or meteors down on top of enemies, can now also trigger heat status effects on nearby enemies, giving it better crowd control, but also more damage. And remember, it will spread to unaffected enemies, so it can chain heat status effects to plenty of enemies if they are close enough to one another. And with this, you can get a serious, and I mean a serious amount of heat procs stacking on enemies, and it will burn them down very, very fast. Now, along with these changes, you will also see a symbol above her heat meter, which is her passive, to show you the bonus power strength that you are getting depending on how many enemies are affected by heat status within 50 meters of your Ember. So it can get pretty damn high if you've set enough enemies on fire, meaning more damage because you've got a much higher power strength. But it's a nice visualization above the meter just to show you what current power strength bonus you are getting. Now, this is my current Ember build. As always, remember, it is your game, your Warframe build, however the hell you want. Now, in the footage, you might notice that I am also using Thermal Sunder instead of Fire Blast. With the changes to cold status and how applying 10 stacks of it will now completely freeze enemies, and in doing so will also increase or double the critical damage those enemies take. It kind of felt like a no-brainer having Thermal Sunder freezing enemies, then also setting them on fire, or if you combine the two with Thermal Sunder, you also get blast potential as well. And for a Warframe like Ember, who is spreading a lot of heat, using that cold and nuking large groups, just honestly, like I said, it felt like a no-brainer to use Thermal Sunder instead of her Fireball. But you can use whatever you want. If you want to use Nourish Roar, if you want to keep Fireball and use the augment for it so that you can get bonus fire damage on your weapons, again, your build, do whatever the hell you want. But I've gone for growing power for the aura. Ignore handspring and pop in prime sure-footed or sure-footed if you want to, or whatever extra slot you want. I was just too lazy to reformat my Ember. Healing Flame augment to heal me for 50 per enemy hit at maximum heat, but also give me Overguard with bonus heals. Continuity for duration, Equilibrium for energy efficiency with health orbs, and vice versa with the energy orbs giving me health. Then there's Exothermic, which will cause enemies to keep dropping an endless supply of energy orbs. Archon Vitality for double stacking heat status from my abilities. Flow so that my Ember has maximum energy. Then I've got Adaptation for more damage reduction, and I've got Umbral Intensify for bonus power strength. Now, I've also got Arcane Blessing to max out her health at somewhere near 2000, and Molt Augmented, which is going to give me even more power strength. So I've got Growing Power, I've got a passive, I've got Umbral Intensify, and then I've also got Molt Augmented as my power strength sources. So might be a little bit overkill, but that's kind of what we do in Warframe, right? Equilibrium mod is allowing me to gain energy from my Sentinels, Synth Deconstruct Health Orbs, and Energy Orbs from Exothermic. And I only have 2 basic Archon shards on my Ember right now. Both of them are red, 1 duration and 1 strength. Like I said at the start of the video, these changes give Ember much more freedom, and it feels like the chains have been taken off or maybe just loosened. If they removed maybe the infinite energy scale on the drain from the maximum heat of her Immolate, then the chains would well and truly be off. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of Ember right now. Are you happy with her changes or not? Have a great day, have a great week or weekend, and as always, thanks for watching.